And actually, that actually transitions us into a good portion of that I want to talk about is what is some of the things that you feel like entrepreneurs struggle with the most? Because I mean, you're a business coach. You've done some mentoring. You speak and things like that. So, as an entrepreneur, also yourself, what are some of the things that you find are the initial struggles and hurdles that entrepreneurs face, and how can they overcome those?
Well, that's a great question. So I would say there's a couple, and one of them goes to the book you're talking about, mindset, right? That's the biggest struggle I see with people is mindset, because we live in a society where we are surrounded by negativity. The news media, politics. There's so much negativity, and that impacts people, right? If you're surrounded by negativity, it's hard to have the right mindset. So a lot of people I've worked with, I start with just changing their mindset, getting them to be positive, to be motivated. Look, you're going to have bad days. I have shitty days sometimes. Like, there are just days where I wake up, I'm like, I'm just kind of pissed off. It happens, but it's getting that mindset, right? Making that switch go off in your head, like, okay, I can do this. So that's the first thing, and it's really just getting people to believe in themselves. And I always tell people, look, if it has been done, that means it can be done. And you have to understand that it takes work, it's perseverance, persistence, but you can do it. That's the first struggle I see entrepreneurs go with. The second one is probably, not having a clear vision. You really got, when I say you got to have goals in a roadmap, I mean you really have to have finite, distinct goals. I'm a big believer. I wrote this book. It's an ebook, small ebook, but 10 Life Hacks for the Entrepreneur. I talk about some life hacks, but one of the things I don't talk about in that book, but I touch on a little bit, is goal setting. I set 3 types of goals: short, medium, and long term. And that gives me targets, so I know what I'm doing. Because if you don't have a target, that's a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong because they don't know what they're going for. I want to start a business. I want to make money. Well, okay, what does that mean? And you got to really boil that down and say, okay, this is what I want. And then you reverse engineer how to get there. Right. That's another big piece. The third thing I would say is that people have a very hard time understanding that to be an entrepreneur, to be a leader, to be whatever, you have to be authentic and vulnerable. People want to put on this show. They want people to think they're this certain type of person. You got to get out of your own way.
Right.
You got to let your faults out, and they want to pretend they're good at everything. You're not. Focus on your strength. I think I'm going to talk about this when we met for coffee, but it's focus on your strengths, because there's a couple people I've worked with over the past couple of years, and I give them the explanation. I said, look, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a set of skills, so say we have 6 skills, right? I got 3 over here that are 7s, and I have 3 over here that are, we'll say, 4s. If I focus on these, I could probably get them to a 7, right? But I'm not focusing on these. So now I have a bunch of mediocre skills, 7s. If I forget about these and work really hard at these, now I have 3 10s. And that means I'm really good at 3 things. That's how you become successful. You focus on what you're good at, you're passionate about, and what drives you. That's where people go wrong. And once they can make that shift to really focusing on their strengths, that's when everything changes. That's when they start achieving success. They don't do the things they're not good at. They don't focus at it. It's the lack of focus. And those are probably the 3 biggest struggles, I would say, that I see from entrepreneurs, honestly.
Absolutely. And I would agree with that as well. I mean, and also, I mean, whenever you're building up your strengths and whenever you focus on those things, you can actually find other people that are strong in the areas that you're weak at and be able to collaborate with them, and then you're actually stronger together.
It's building that team. You're right. I mean, it is, and it's so true, because there's so much to do as an entrepreneur. There's so much that goes into the life of an entrepreneur. And if I'm spending time trying to develop my weaknesses, for what? I mean, I'm not going to get paid for my weaknesses. I'm not going to make money off my weaknesses. I'm going to build legacy off my weaknesses.
Right.
I have these skills over here. That's where my legacy is. That's where the money is. That's where the success is. That's where I focus.
Right.
That's how when I figured that out, everything changed for me.